Welcome to Slasher Sunday double feature time. We were going to do these separate, and then we had a discussion, and I was going to just be like, well, we'll see, and this and that. But the reason we decided on doing a double feature is because I feel like I have a lot of the same shit to say about part two as I do with part one.
Yeah, me
So we might as well just do it all in one video and get it over with. We did watch these back to back, and we thought, oh, we're going to have 2 weeks covered.
They're just so similar, and yeah, I just feel like an extra video, like...
Just redundant.
It does feel redundant. I think it makes more sense to do them together. And I also just... I don't know how many people have seen the second one and would actually like want to watch a whole separate video on it.
Right. Yeah.
That's our decision, and that's our thought process.
And we're sticking to it. So this is from... shout out to my father for writing both of these, Mark Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's actual name. Except for this is Mark, I think, L. Smith. Isn't that what it said? Mark L. Smith? My dad is not L. Anyway, this is from him, and he wrote The Revenant, Overlord, Twisters recently. He's went on to have a pretty decent career since this. And the director of this directed Predators. And not really much else. Just some like music videos and then a bunch of television episodes. But not that TV is like a huge step down anymore. But I'm sure directors would prefer to do a film over TV.
It
Unless
depends.
they're like the
if it's
creator.
a big TV show, like, I don't know, some like
Game
really,
of Thrones.
like, yeah, Game of Thrones, or even...
But you still have to
don't know.
work within the constraints of
Yeah.
the television series for the most part, because TV series have a specific style to them.
Yeah.
And you're really just there to pump out the next chapter of that story, and it's got to kind of seamlessly flow with the other episodes. So you're not allowed to have much, flair in television.
Fair.
There's definitely episodes that are exceptions to that rule, right? Like Ryan Johnson has some beloved episodes in Breaking Bad. He also has, it's funny, he has the highest rated episode of the show, and he has the lowest rated episode of the show, Fly. I think Fly is actually a great episode. Anyway. All right, so let's talk about Vacancy. This stars Kate Beckinsale and Luke Wilson, as well as Frank Whaley and Ethan Embry. And they're almost the only people in this movie outside of one other character who is in the prequel, which we'll get to. The director of this movie's name is Nimrod. I find that funny. I've seen that name a few times in my life, and I'm just like, I've never heard that word other than as
like an insult. Yeah,
like,
I don't know where that name comes
fucking
from.
Nimrod.
I don't know where that name comes from. So
I don't
know anything
either.
about it, but yeah.
I've never met a person named Nimrod. I've only seen
either.
it, and I don't know. You would think people would be like, my name's Rod, right? They go by Rod.
Maybe? I thought Rod was short for like Rodney.
Probably Rod Stewart and all these guys. Maybe it's
I don't know.
Nimrod Stewart. How funny would that be?
You never know. I'd go by Nim.
Nim?
Yeah.
The Secret of Nim?
No, just Nim.
Yeah, Nimrod. Have you ever met a Nimrod?
And where does it, like what?
What's the origin?
Yeah,
of
what's
it?
the origin
What
of
does
that
it mean?
name? Where is it from? What country? What part of the world?
Country of origin.
Yes.
Nimrod.
Tell us all.
It's a good Green Day record. But I've never heard it any other way but like an insult of like, you're an idiot.
Right.
You're a Nimrod.
Anyway, this guy's not though.
That's like Poindexter, right?
Yeah.
Which is a name as well.
Yeah.
Which is just like that's
like
the
nerd
classic
names, like
nerd.
geeky names.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough.
Nimrod Poindexter. Imagine that. My
Yeah.
name's Nimrod Poindexter.
That would be
That would be
name.
brutal.
Enough name talk though.
Enough name talk. That's like that the boy named Sue song from Johnny Cash, right?
Oh yeah.
Nimrod Poindexter would grow up to be either the most mentally fucked up person ever or like tough as nails. Depends. Okay. So this starts off with a scene that made Kaylee pretty much instantaneously hate Kate Beckinsale's character.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. They're like driving and her husband, like, there's a raccoon in the road, so he swerves.
Which you should never do, by the way.
Yeah, he does, like, the car goes out of control.
Yeah, so
sure.
in that instance, what you're supposed to do, this is what you learn when you do your driving, like teaching. You're supposed to just hit your brakes and keep in a straight line, though. You can't jerk the wheel. You just have to hit your brakes and hope the brakes stop before you hit the animal. But swerving is not advisable because you can flip the car or spin the car into the ditch or into oncoming traffic or any of those things. So with animals in the road, you're always just supposed to just hit the brakes and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like, roadkill is one of the things that makes me really sad because it's just, like, I know it's kind of inevitable with how we have a lot of places set up with, the fact that everybody drives cars and stuff, but her comment being just like, oh, you decided to kill us instead of getting a little roadkill on the car, which I get it, though. I think a lot of people are...
That'd be a common...
Yeah, it'll be like,
sentiment.
yeah, I'm going to hit the animal instead of, like, kill myself. But I probably would be that person that would be like, no, and, like, flip the car. Because I really don't want to hit any animals.
Same.
I just feel bad. I feel like we took over their space and, like, roads cut in, into their land, and they, like, are
especially out, like, when you're on, like, mountain roads.
Yeah,
right?
and they're in the middle
of
nowhere.
wilderness.
Yeah, exactly. That's, like, I mean, they're not on a mountain road, but they are in the middle of nowhere. Thanks. So, yeah, exactly. It is, like, that's, for the most part, there aren't that many cars, probably, that come around.
Well,
It
I'm just,
seems
yeah,
like they're,
that
like,
too. But
isolated.
you're, like, straight up right in the middle of their home,
yeah.
right?
When we,
like a city street, you're not as likely to run into animals unless they're domesticated pets.
Yes, we've seen a lot of, well, anyway, it's sad. I actually don't want to talk about it.
No.
But, yeah, when I was, like, we would see a lot of, like, deer and stuff in Colorado.
Sure.
So it's like...
Yeah, I've seen a lot of roadkill in my life, as has everybody.
Well, and just, like, crossing the road, too, because they don't really have, like, I don't
Crosswalk.
know. Yeah, they're just, like...
I mean, they have signs
Cows
sometimes.
have crosswalks sometimes.
Right? They have signs.
Yeah, they'll be, like, deer
like
crossing or whatever, but, like, the deer aren't, like... They don't know.
Yeah, they don't know, of course.
So they're just like, I'm going. Especially when it's like, because they migrate and stuff, and like depending on like their mating season, like they go to different areas. So there can be a lot of incidents. Anyway, try your best not to hit animals on the road and be paying attention to the road. That's kind of the main thing, right? Like, he's sleepy and sort of like, I don't remember if he looks away or whatever, but he's not as focused as he could be. So he does kind of react like last second.
Sure.
Now, granted, there are definitely times when animals literally just, like, run out in front of you.
Yeah, there's nothing
and, like,
you
you
do.
can't stop.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, like, if there's an animal on the road, like, that's why you gotta be aware whenever you drive and be like...
Yeah, I've never hit an animal with my car, and I've lived in these areas, but it's not because I'm some super driver or anything. It's just pure luck. I mean, I've probably hit, like, a little mouse or something and not known it, because they love to scurry across the road in the wilderness areas. When you live in smaller towns like I have, you see them run across the road all the time, and I always, like, I don't know if I hit them or not, but I've never hit, like, an animal, like a bigger animal that I obviously knew I hit.
It makes me think of, sorry.
I got very lucky there.
Death of a unicorn.
But I've always, I've always stopped in time. I've had tons run out in front of me, and I've always been able to have good enough reflexes to have not hit any.
We recently had a little tiny chihuahua run out in front of our car.
Yeah.
We were driving back from the park on, just in like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And this tiny chihuahua just like darted across, and we like tried to find it, and then
we found its home.
We did, and the owners were so nonchalant
that
they didn't care. And they were literally on the edge next to this busy street. Like, there was a neighborhood and then like a busy like highway kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, he keeps getting out, I don't know. And I was like,
oh my god,
I would be freaking out.
Yeah.
I would be freaking out if our dog ever got out.
We've tried to like secure their fences the best we could, but he keeps getting out. Like, they didn't care at all. They were just like, whatever.
So
anyway,
crazy.
all right,
Anyway,
moving
enough
on
of
from
that.
And 20 minutes
Enough
talking
of,
about
yeah.
fucking animals in the road. And yeah, I mean, I feel like almost fate brought them here in this movie. And they ultimately stopped them. So maybe fate did send them there to stop them once and for all. But, every single thing that could go wrong goes wrong for them to end up there. Right? Like, the road's closed. He takes this shortcut. He gets lost on the highway with the map. The car, gets damaged in some way when he avoids the animal in the road. Comes to the mechanic. Of course, the mechanic's in on it, and he damages his engine so that he has to go up the road, and then they're without a car, so they have to walk back to the hotel. It's like everything. And I will say this. I mean, this is probably worst case scenario setup that you are at the biggest disadvantage. I mean, outside of someone sneaking in and just shoot, like, outside of like a sniper just shooting you while you're walking down the street randomly. But I'm just saying, like, they are at every disadvantage possible in this film.
Yeah, they're extremely unlucky. It is kind of like everything that could go wrong does for them.
They have no idea where they're at.
Yeah.
They have no access to a phone. They have no car to get away. They are stuck in a room that has multiple entrances, one of which they don't even know about. They don't understand the area at all. They don't understand their surroundings at all. They're foreigners in a foreign, strangers in a strange land. And it's like, this is the worst case scenario you could ever find yourself in, ever.
Yeah.
But the killers in this are pretty stupid when it, I feel like with both of these movies, the same is true of, the characters are smart enough, but it's just that the killers are so stupid that it just kind of takes away the insane advantage that they have.
I think that they've just been very okay, well,
not in the first
we'll
one.
Talk about the first one, no, but they have a system.
Not in the
or in the second one.
First kill.
Yeah, which is the first victims.
Right.
So in this one, it's they, I think, are very comfortable because they've had so many people come and go.
Over 200.
But we definitely, the biggest, loophole, I guess, in this whole film and, the for the killers in general, is that when Luke and Kate, I don't know what their names are, but when they check into their actual room, there are literal snuff tapes of that room in there, which they watch and then realize what's happening. So it is kind of unbelievable that nobody else prior to them would have watched the tapes and been this is about to happen. But from the tapes, it does look like they literally are all just taken by surprise. So they nobody else has really had a chance to fight back. So from the beginning, when they get there and that there's just screaming happening. I mean, we watch so many horror movies.
Right.
I don't think any horror movie we watch has just 5 minutes or
Not true.
a minute of straight screaming.
Not true.
You think that there's that long of screaming? In
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Sally Hardison, the last 30 minutes of the film is just her screaming.
You could have made some comment it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The dinner scene, the dinner table scene at the very end, she's straight up screaming for probably 10 straight minutes in that.
I guess that's fair. It just seems so it is a huge red flag, even though he kind of plays it off I'm just bored and watching a movie. But it's a huge red flag.
I think it's believable enough, but I agree it's a red flag, but they're already they're in such a fucked situation that there's red flags everywhere at this point in their mind because they're in an impossible situation, and it's we don't really have a choice. What else are we gonna do? What else can they really do? And what are the odds that the hotel you're checking or the motel you're checking into is a murder den with like cameras in the walls. I mean,
Well, I
that's
think
that's
that's-
obviously something that's more fantasy than reality. Do I think a place like this exists in this country? Is it possible? It's possible, I suppose.
I definitely
but
think
it's
there's
highly
places
unlikely.
that have cameras. That for sure. I think that
Yes.
there's people.
Yes.
There's a lot of places.
But where they
that-
murder people?
Yeah, I don't know about
in
the
rooms?
snuff element of
No.
it, but the voyeuristic quality.
Yes, that
yeah,
exists.
I think that because people you can check for cameras in your hotel room and stuff. But yeah, I just don't know why the tapes are in the room. I think it's maybe because they are wanting to play with them. So
Yeah,
the idea is
it's
we
antagonistic.
do want them to see it,
Yeah.
but it seems odd.
I think it's like a new thing that they've introduced recently. They don't make mention of it. A line here or there would have been cool of either oh, I was in there watching some of our tapes recently, and it's did you you didn't take the VCR out, and it's oh shit, I forgot.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? That would be one way to do it, where it's no one else has ever had this advantage but them, or we've had to spice things up because customers are getting bored with the same old thing.
Yeah.
And so now we threw those tapes in there to kind of antagonize them more so they know what's coming. We're just supposed to suss that out for ourselves, which is what I'm leaning more towards the latter there, that they put those tapes in there purposely to fuck with them so that they get more scared. And the more fear there is on tape, that's what they're paying for. That they like that the people are terrified and looking for an exit and all of that. But they really do just literally leave them a blueprint of what their methods are. And the fact he learns that they come from the bathroom and no one's ever. So of course the movie's unbelievable in the sense that in every videotape he watches, they come in from the bathroom. But for some reason, this is the one time when they're blockading, barricading the doors and blocking everything. They decide not to come through the bathroom area at all, except for there is one moment early on,
yes,
where he's in the room and he's behind Kate Beckinsale's character for a second, and then she turns around and he's gone. So he must have went back in there. How he's making no noise with a creaky ass door like that, fucking forget it. That's not possible. Whatever, doesn't matter. But he just disappears, and it takes a while to crawl through these systems.
Yeah.
Right, and he's crawling through them to just go back outside. And it's why did he even make an appearance in the room if he's not going to do anything? Is that just to add to the tapes of oh, I was in the room and I was looking at her, or just to size them up? What's the point of crawling all the way into the room, coming in, possibly giving yourself up, then going back and if okay, here's a question that I actually don't have an answer to. If he did come in through that trap door and then left immediately without them noticing, how did he put the rug back down perfectly on top of the door?
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Yeah, I don't know. The rug would have to be taped to the door or
it's
secured. I don't know, but I think
that's actually a plot hole, unless there's another entrance that we don't know about. So that's the only other.
Well, I
answer.
thought that there was a mirror on the wall, and I thought
there
that was
is, but he breaks it, and there's nothing.
I thought that
it.
was going to be a door.
Yeah.
Or a two-way mirror, but him coming in earlier. Yes, it's also supposed to be for the tape to show them ooh, they're so close to death or whatever, so dangerous. But it's also supposed to be for the audience to know that yeah, they have another way in, they're not safe, and they don't know that yet. And that's fine for me, because I think that they haven't fully come, they have shown that they can come in. This is all just a game, they're just playing with them. They're trying to get them scared. They're trying to get a performance for the cameras, because they ultimately are trying to sell this.
But what
and
are
it's,
they
the
waiting
whole thing.
for? Right?
I don't know. I don't know what they're I don't know what the end
it takes
whatever.
It takes so long before they finally go down and find that. So there's cameras everywhere, right? And he hides the cameras by putting the bathroom stuff together. If there is a camera in that bathroom like that, which I think there is, and he's purposely putting the shower rod back up, or the Nimrod back up, to cover the camera, they're obviously doing something. And if you have the other cameras in the room, this is why they're at such a disadvantage.
Well,
there's cameras
they
everywhere.
also-
So why he wouldn't go out and knock out all the cameras instantly? He knows where they're at. Why he doesn't ever try to take them out to give themselves an advantage back to where, like, no, you're not watching us. He just pulled those things off and grabbed the cameras. He never does that, which is fucking insane. But, like, if they're going to go cover that and then all the other cameras is showing them in the bathroom where you know the one exit out of there is, and none of them ever think to look in the fucking their tunnels, that makes no sense.
do the cameras have audio in this one?
Yes.
So they would also potentially would have heard him say, like,
yes,
whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's weird. I guess at that point they must be, like, out doing things.
Of course the cameras have audio. We hear the tapes. They're screaming.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Well, yeah, I just was like, I wasn't sure because in this second one, they, like, specifically reference, like, the cameras having audio because, like, information is used about the victims from the stuff that they say in the room.
Yep.
So, yeah, that is odd. I can only assume that they're out there doing stuff. I don't remember if he finds the tunnels. It's actually, no, I do remember. It's before the police officer arrives, so I don't know.
Yeah, because they see the cop from the auto parts store.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with all that. I do think that that's kind of sloppily written.
100%.
Like, overall, I think the setup is pretty scary.
Because they don't even find out that they're in the office until they, like, come in, and then they're like, oh my god, they found our tunnels.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck don't you know they found the tunnels? You have one thing you're doing currently. There's 3 of you. One of you should be on cameras at all times, making sure they're still in the room or where they're going.
Yeah, they should have,
there's
like...
no way.
They should have, like, headsets. Like, the one guy on the cameras is like, okay, they're doing this or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, but, I mean, it is scary. Like, if you were to check into a hotel room and then put in a VHS and see, like, people being murdered in that room, that would be terrifying.
It's fucking crazy, yeah.
It would be
scary.
so insane.
I think that... So this is where writing... So... They kind of back themselves into a corner for a gimmick, right? So, like, the gimmick hurts them, but it's the gimmick that gets people in the theater, right? So this is a tough balancing act where it's like, for a trailer, having them pop in the tapes and see the room in which they're in, people are being killed. That's a good marketing tactic, and it's a good setup for a movie. But then it makes it complicated because then you immediately take away the advantage you had.
Yeah.
The people know they're being recorded. They know the cameras, where they're at. They can watch the video. They show all the different angles. He even looks in and finds the angles and then doesn't tell his wife for some reason that there's cameras for a while, which was really fucking weird. He decides to keep a lot of information from her, which is always frustrating in movies. Anytime that there's people keeping information for no reason away from other people that they're with, I'll never forgive that. I'll never forgive that kind of writing. It makes no sense. No one would do that. I know there's a lot of, like, because we talk about this all the time. It's like, what do people actually do in situations? You never know till you're there, this and that. I am 100% positive that if a husband went and saw fucking cameras in the walls and was watching that tape, he would be like, there's cameras in the wall. But you also pointed out a very good point as well of, like, how is she so stupid not to realize that for herself? Right? When she's watching the tapes, it's like, well, clearly there's got to be fucking cameras in the walls.
Yeah. I don't know. I do feel
the
like...
cameras wouldn't get the footage that they're getting, by the way, because there's, like, grates that it's filming through, and it's like...
It always looks...
It's always, like, perfectly...
I guess if it was, like...
No, the lenses are too big.
I don't know.
It would have the grates in the shot.
Yeah, I feel like he really doesn't give her enough information,
But like you said, she should be able to figure it out for herself. She's kind of a dipshit if she doesn't. But he should still be talking to her. One thing they do in both of these movies is they both find out there's camera and audio, and they still announce their plans out loud to each other instead of like whispering in each other's ears.
Yeah.
That
I mean, they're just freaking out.
Frustrating.
But
as
yeah,
fuck.
it is frustrating.
But as soon as they're in the second movie especially, they're like, they can hear us, and they say it out loud, and then they're like, okay, I think we should go out the back. This and I'm
they
like,
go into another room in the second one
mind?
at least. Like,
you don't know what rooms have cameras and don't.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But they do go into another room at one point because of that.
But they do make that decision, I think, in the main room. We'll get to that movie, but regardless.
Yeah, they do. This also, they have like a lot of marital problems. Like, they're getting a divorce because their kid died. And like before we get to the motel, like they just are.
They hate each other.
She hates him more. I feel like he's like actually trying at times.
Which is funny because we find out she's the one who got the kid killed by letting him go by the stairs.
I mean, it definitely was an accident, and like he even says later, like, I don't blame you. Like, nobody blames you.
She kicked him down the stairs.
Yeah, she probably murdered him. But they like kind of end up making up throughout this, which is always interesting to me because I'm like, are you actually going to be back together, or is this just like you're in a situation where you think you're going to die and you're with somebody who you did at one point love, like kind of better to have a connection than not have one, but once things are back together, like, I don't know, does that change anything for you guys? Could. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe
if anything's going to bring them back together, it would be something like this.
Yeah,
like, they have no chance in hell. But this could potentially bring them back together because living through something like this together
after
could absolutely
losing your kid,
fundamentally change you.
Yeah, after losing your kid, which is like the reason that they're divorcing.
But you make a good point. I mean,
it's just always funny. It happens a lot in movies.
Absolutely.
Where they're like, the couple hates each other, but then they like, which I'm not saying they shouldn't have teamwork.
Had zero chance.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have teamwork,
of
but
working
it's just funny.
Before this.
Yes.
So if they were ever going to have a chance, this is it.
Yeah.
Because they survive this together. They're going to be completely different people. And how does anyone ever
even
relate
more
to you?
Traumatized than they already were.
And of course, we're doing the movie convenience of like, if you're alive when the credits roll, you survived for sure.
Right. Luke Wilson's character lives somehow.
Because this is a Scream movie.
I think that the manager guy is really creepy in this one. Definitely more so than in the next film. Like, he's just got, like, I don't know, he seems like a total slime ball. And
well, he is.
He is.
Right, as to where the other one...
But he is a creep, too.
He is
They're
a
all
creep.
Creeps.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they're watching it. But this guy just, like, is playing it really... I don't know. He definitely, like, kind of nailed that performance of, like, ultra creepy dude. But
well, you know who that is, right?
Maybe.
Frank Whaley. Like...
What is he from?
I mean, the thing I always think of him, and I think most people are going to think of him from, is he's the guy in the big Pulp Fiction scene.
Oh.
Say what again, motherfucker? Say what one more goddamn time. Okay. I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. What ain't no country I ever heard of?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a good job in this. He's definitely gross. But I do think, like, kind of anytime you have... I
mean, that's Samuel Jackson saying all those lines, but you know what I'm talking about.
You're talking about that scene.
I'm talking about the guy he's saying all that stuff, too.
Yeah.
Does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch? So.
Anytime you have, like, a motel where people are being killed, like, inevitably you're going to have, like, you compare it to Psycho. Because it's just, like, nothing, and this is kind of one of those situations where Psycho just does it, kind of perfectly. There's so much in Psycho. It's a slasher, right? And it has, like, this... It's just very iconic and very amazing and, rightfully, like, up there as one of the greats. And there is some, like, kind of references to this. Like, there's this, like, birds, like, stuffed birds, I think, are around the, like, front desk.
Yeah.
But...
And he's putting him in a very specific room.
And he's putting him in a specific room and everything. Yeah. But, I don't know. For me,
and
at least...
he's watching them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then the peeping Tom aspect, the voyeurism.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, at least as of right now, of all the, like, motel-themed, like, horror movies we've watched, none of them are ever going to top Psycho for me. Like, there's just... It will always be missing what Psycho has.
Are you talking about Psycho, or are you talking about the Psycho franchise?
The Psycho franchise.
I don't know. Is Psycho your favorite of the Psycho movies and I mean, obviously Bates Motel is kind of like a whole series, so that's kind of hard and
Bates
unfair.
Motel is like kind of I mean, it is part of Psycho, but yeah, I guess it probably is my favorite, the first one, but I don't like ranking them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the made for TV?
Yeah. Bud Court. And, yeah.
Anyway, but it just there's always gonna be that kind of in the back of my head when I watch these types of movies, because this one, it's sort of trying to be like a grittier, worser version of Psycho, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, like not only are people getting killed at this motel, but it's like
it's Psycho meets Hostel.
Yeah, it's like they're doing it because they love killing people and other people want to watch them get killed and stuff. Whereas anyway, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, kind of trying to be edgier.
Sure, of course. I mean, you always got to up the ante, right? And in doing so, you can lose a lot of the artistic flair and whatnot. That's why these like kind of more snuffy type movies are never going to be held as in high regard, because there's a sleaziness that comes with them when you go too hard.
But, you know, I think also the fact that Psycho, you know, obviously came out so long ago, it's kind of shown that's sort of that fear of the sleazy motel, like off the beaten path where nobody knows, has made its way into like the cultural, like, you know, zeitgeist or whatever, so that people do have a fear of going to like out of the way places in strange areas, like, you know, because like they are afraid like somebody's gonna be watching me or somebody's gonna try and kill me. And
it's what all great horror movies do. Jaws,
mm-hmm.
Psycho, right? When you watch them, your experience with those places are never the same. I mean, you can't go in the ocean without thinking about Jaws. You can't go in a hotel shower without thinking of Psycho, right? It's just, you can't pull up to a gas station in some small Texas town without thinking Leatherface is right around the corner. It's just, great films always sink into your psyche like that and become, like you said, part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get up to the motel desk, the guy says, no, cash only. This, of course, eliminates a paper trail. I found it really funny, and actually, because of like how annoying Kate Beckinsale is, because Kate Beckinsale is one of those women for me that's like, she's very attractive, obviously, but to me, like any interview I've seen, even characters she plays in movies, I don't like her personality. There's something very uppity about her, and I don't know if that's like, does that make me sound like an asshole? I just don't like her. I always have felt like this.
I haven't seen any interviews
like
of
she
her.
thinks she's better than everybody. That's how it always comes off to me when I ever see her in anything ever. There's nothing down to earth. That's always like the biggest compliment somebody can get. It's like, oh, they're really down to earth. They're like a real person. They're like, you know, they're humble, and they like, she doesn't feel that way at all to me. And so it's like, she would be one of those girls, right? She'd be one of those women for me in my youth that I was like, oh my God, I kept Kate Beckinsale, because she's got the looks, but there's something about her that's always been bitchy. So for her playing this character, I was like, oh yeah, this just fits you perfectly for me anyway. And when her and Luke Wilson come into the place, and they're like, not only like talking down to this guy, like being like, can you rent a room by the hour? Which reminds me of that movie we watched last year that I showed you that I'd already seen once before.
Yeah, I was thinking about that,
which I actually really liked. And I'm completely blanking on the title of it at the moment.
Yeah, it was good though.
I'll come back to it hopefully. But yeah, like being like, oh, this place is a shithole. Like, can I just rent a room by the hour? Which, the whole rent a room by the hour thing is kind of interesting to me. It's like when people come into the salon and they're like, oh, I just want to trim. And it's like, I'm still doing the same haircut. It doesn't matter if I take an inch or 3 inches. I'm still sectioning and cutting everything the same. I'm not charging you by the inch like a prostitute. Right? Like, I'm doing the same haircut no matter how much I cut off the ends. This much,
I think because people think,
and this much, like, are the same haircut.
They just
so you know.
yeah.
Doesn't
With
make any
hair,
difference.
at least, like I think people really do
But if you
think
go
like
into
you
a-
can just like cut like the bottom part off, and
Right.
like that's it. And if you have just like one length of hair,
Yeah.
I guess technically you can just be like, here's the like cut the split ends,
I mean,
right? Like if
your
it's
hair
all
is,
one length.
if your hair's thinner, and I can bring it all down
Yeah.
and cut it in the comb, but if your hair's thicker and I tried to just bring it down and cut, it would create all sorts of weird graduation in the back, and bumps, and no, you cannot just pull. You'd have to section it section by section, so that you don't get too much bulk as you try to cut through too much hair.
I thought
Your
there was
scissors
like
kind of slip, and you have like that's
I
not
thought there
how
was
it
like a
works.
trick where you could like put your hair in braids and then like cut the ends of the braids, and it like does that naturally.
But if you put it in braids,
Like the little parts that stick out.
okay, I understand that, but when you put it in braids, the hair is going to be all different.
I don't know.
So when you let it down, it's
Yeah.
no. What?
I don't know then.
That wouldn't work. No, don't do that. You can braid it and then cut it off to save it to send to like Locks of Love. We'll do that in the salon, right? But putting it in braids and just trimming the ends, no.
I don't know.
Don't take Haley's hair advice. Anyway, but like the same thing is true here, where like you're still going in the room. We still
Yeah, they
have
still
to
have to clean it,
clean the
they still have
room.
to
Like we have to
do- yeah.
change the bedding. We have to come in, like the maids or whatever have to clean the room. And,
Not to
and I guess if
mention,
you're like a fuck house,
Well,
then,
yeah,
like,
there's
nobody
probably
cares, but-
motels that are like love motels or whatever that like that specifically is what they do.
correct.
But for like every other hotel,
I mean, they have
or
them in
motel,
Japan, right? We always see those in
Yeah,
Japanese
they do
movies.
have a lot of them. I don't know of any in like the States, but they
Nothing
probably
legal.
exist.
Well, prostitution isn't legal.
Well, no, not
except for-
prostitution, but like hotels that you can go to and like rent a room by the hour. But my point was going to be like, let's say you do go to a motel or a hotel and you like
Yeah.
only want it for an hour. If they're booked or whatever and they rent it to you for an hour, then they like lose out on if somebody else comes and is like, oh, like I want a hotel like room for the night, like, you know what I mean? Like, because most people like if you're like, I'll have one available in like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, we
they're
got
like,
someone in there fucking right now.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna go elsewhere.
We'll go sanitize it real quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't like. They think what they're just you pay by the hour, like so. Like when a room is $50 for the night or $100 for the night, and you're there for 10 hours, then it should be $10 for 1 hour. Like, is this the logic of
I
this?
don't
Because we
know.
still have to do literally the exact same
Yes.
cleanup if you stay for 1 hour or if you stay for 3 days.
I wonder if it used to be something where you could get rooms by the hour.
No,
Like, if that
he's
was-
talking down to him. Like, you have a shithole establishment.
Yeah.
You should be lucky to have our business, and you probably only do, like, hooker rentals here.
Yeah, they do.
To
have
me, that
some
is a
kind of,
condescending comment that he makes towards him. And then he's a complete prick when the guy wants a driver's license, a very common thing
Yeah.
that they ask for, by the way. And he's pissed that the check-in is taking... Literally, what's the check-in in there? 10 seconds?
Oh, it's like normally like when we go to
Oh my
like
God.
hotels and stuff.
It's like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're like sitting there.
You have
like,
to fill out the
waiting.
paperwork. You have to put a
Yeah.
deposit. He doesn't put a deposit down. And he's like, oh, just trust us. We're not going to steal anything.
Yeah, it's
Trust
a
us?
crazy
What
thing.
fucking
And
world
then
are
they
we
have
living
that
in?
whole like interaction where he's like, "Oh, there's a payphone. Like, here, let me give you dimes," and he's like trying to count out the dimes. Like he's doing it purposefully, of course.
Yeah.
To be annoying.
Yeah.
But then it's like that whole interaction where he like, "Oh, the payphone." Like, well, yeah, that auto store or that garage isn't going to be open.
This
It's
movie's
just
from what,
very funny.
2007? I think is what I read.
Yeah, I think so.
How the fuck in the 2000s, it's definitely in the 2000s, how the fuck is somebody in the 2000s thinking they're walking into a motel, renting it by the hour, and then also being like, I don't want to give you ID. I want you to be on an honor system with me, and I want to not have to check in at all, like give you my name,
Like,
pay you.
that's sketchy.
That's fucking insane.
That's really sketchy to ask as well. But obviously, they are going to a murder motel. So
They are. Of course, this ends up being they're not the assholes here.
Yeah, but anywhere else.
Any other situation,
Yeah.
they're fucking being assholes.
Yeah.
I know they're having a bad night, but A guy asking you at a hotel to properly check in that took literally less than 10 seconds, and he's complaining about it and being like, just trust us, bro? Why? Because you're like good, like well-to-do white people?
To be fair, in the second one, that isn't the case. That isn't what happens, like, as far as the check-in goes. Like, he doesn't ask for an ID,
right.
And he is very much just like, oh, like, he takes the fake name that he gives and stuff, right? Like, for the killer, I mean. So it's like, that's a really seedy hotel, but they're operating as, like, an actual hotel for, or a motel.
Just well, they're not asking creeps. Questions because they're fucking pervs that are watching stuff.
They're like, we want to see you get, like, naked or whatever, but that's just interesting. Yeah, I mean, and then for the rest of this
I would be sketched out if someone didn't ask me for anything.
Me too.
I'd be like, you're not going to take any of my information down? Like, what the fuck is going on with this place?
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like, is this like a money laundering place? Like,
I would not
what's
stay at this
here?
place. If we walked in and there was like...
Screaming.
Even, because I would be like, what movie are you watching? And then they'd be like, just, I don't know.
Yeah, let me see it.
Insidious. Or they'd say like something that's like...
Insidious.
And I'm like, there's no screaming like that in that movie. I've seen it 5 times. And then I'd just leave.
Right.
But this is why people advocate for, like, having weapons, right? Like, having a gun, if you're in the States, is, like, in these horror movie situations.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think that's, you know, I don't think you're likely to actually run into a situation like this. So.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all right. So they get in there. It's like a roach motel, of course. What do you expect?
It's gross. It's really gross.
Looks pretty damn good for having 200 murders committed in it, though. I'll give them that. They do a pretty good cleanup. I don't know who's the maid in that place. Are they the maids?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they have anybody else there.
Because, like, every time they do this, and they're like...
The room is getting wrecked every time. Because people are, like, fighting back.
This is another thing with this movie that makes literally no sense at all, and why this wouldn't be a good setup, and why they would get themselves caught. Like, they're antagonizing people out by the interstate. Like, it's like off the beaten path interstate, but it's like a regular interstate. Like, they have a legit, like, business with a mechanic shop across the street and whatever. Like, this is an actual place that people drive past. You're going to antagonize and murder couples out in the open like that when anybody could drive up at any moment. This is a place of business. You're not in a fucking, like, you know, farmhouse.
Well, yeah, they have to have, like...
in Texas Chainsaw or something.
You'd assume they'd have to have, like, a business license and
anybody stuff. Could roll up on that place at any moment that you're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do that in the second one. Like, somebody comes and he escorts them away and this and that. But if they're doing 200 murders in this place, which is what we find out in the second film, they found 200 murder tapes. You're getting caught. I'm sorry, you're not doing this in this hotel or this motel for this long, where a cop could roll up at any point, a fucking, you know, another customer could roll up at any point, and they find them there, and they drive off, and they go get the cops, and then they investigate the place, and boom, they find the cameras, they find it. It would be so easy to take this place down. So, while it is an impossible situation,
yeah,
it's not a very good realistic setup. Like, it's a fun, like, kind of urban legend type story where in a film it works and is, like, scary and it's like, oh my god, what would you do in this situation? But in reality, something like this would never ever work with the way that they're doing it. The fact that they don't just immediately come in the room and take them down, no. You can't just antagonize them for this long and expect to get away with it.
Yeah.
People are going to break out. People are going to, no. Absolutely. I mean, the chick drives a fucking car through the building. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like,
you think this is the only time anybody's ever fought back?
No, I don't. I definitely think, like I was saying, like, the rooms at least are getting wrecked every time because people are, like, fighting back. So it's like they're constantly having to replace furniture and stuff. And, like, yeah, I think it's bad business setup for sure. But, yeah, I mean, like, they do call the cop. The cop shows up. I feel bad for him because he's like, he realizes, he finds the tapes and he's like going to help them, but they've already like messed with the car and everything. So all that sucks, like him having to get killed.
Now, granted, this technically is not completely fiction. So we talked about this.
I don't know what that was.
It was a can falling for some reason. There's somebody in the house. Nimrod, he's mad about our name. Making fun of his name. Yeah, Looky Lou. But there is precedence for this. One of the most interesting murder, like, serial killers of all time, H.H. Holmes, who, was this really rich young guy who built a hotel and specifically built in, like, secret entrances to rooms. And he would fucking come into people's rooms during the Chicago's fair in the, like, late 1800s. He would come in their rooms and he'd kill them, and then he'd have, like, these depository, like stations where he'd take the bodies and, like, throw them down into the basement.
Ugh. Weren't they gonna make a movie off of that?
With DiCaprio? The Devil in the White City, directed by Martin Scorsese, that's never gotten passed through, and fucking Leo's getting pretty old to play H.H. Holmes at this point. That dude was, like, supposed to be in his 20s or something.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's actually probably the craziest serial killer story of all time. I cannot believe no one's made a proper film on that yet.
Yeah, that is, like, kind of interesting, because, I mean, we've had so many, like, Jack the Ripper films and, all these other serial killers. But there's also, like, although I don't know if that's in the 1800s, that's kind of, you definitely have, like, distance, because sometimes, even though we have had movies based on killers from, like, the 70s and 60s, like, for sure, but there's always, like, you run that risk, right, when you do, like, actual murderers of, like, people, like, idolizing it, which is gross and creepy, but yeah, I've heard about that. I don't know a ton about it. Like, I think
I don't either.
But it is kind of crazy to think that there's always been psychos killing people.
But to have an entire, like, murder hotel, like, built where, like, contractors and construction
somebody
workers
knew
are
about it.
They're like, why do you need a secret
entrance? It's like that
entrance?
movie that we watched, The Landlady, when she has, like, a two-way mirror built in her, like, and nobody that built that was like,
why are you looking into this guy's room? Yeah, there's no way.
That's like the same thing.
That's like what I always talk about with the Batcave with Batman. It's like you had contractors come.
Yeah, like,
build
you didn't build that
you
yourself.
Didn't build this whole place yourself.
I don't care about how smart you are, Bruce Wayne.
No way.
Alfred sure as hell wasn't doing it.
Yeah, there's no way. They even talk about it in the movie where it's like, oh, we have to secure the foundation and this and that. I'm like, you did that? Alfred's like 80 years old.
He's out there with a hammer and nails.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is you use to build things.
Hammer and nails. That's it. That's all you have. Yeah. That's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then she gets away. She hides in the ceiling, and she hits the one dude with a car, and the other guy is, like, killed from, like, the impact because he's on, like, hot in the sunroof area. And then she ends up killing the creeper dude, and Luke Wilson is still alive, and they live happily ever after. I thought the second one was going to be found footage. I actually was pretty excited for it to be found footage. I think that it would make sense to be found footage.
Yeah.
Like, it could easily be it.
Yeah.
But, just, the way it opens with, like, the little blurb talking about, like, this was the first one and everything. Very found footage kind of opening.
I'm not done with the first one yet, but we can definitely
not?
move on to it here in a second.
Oh, no problem.
Speaking of, like, when I was talking earlier about, like, how they would get caught. So she goes and hides up in the rafters, like you had said, before she goes and fights her way out and kills the main guy. But she goes up in those at night. They stab Luke Wilson. He crawls out onto the front porch and bleeds out. This is after they killed a cop, by the way. They leave him there till morning.
Yeah.
You have any idea? Like, are these guys idiots? Are they trying to get caught?
I don't know why they leave
like,
him there till morning.
You know the cops are coming. Like, when a cop goes missing, we've talked about this, and I'll always say this, like, of all the fucking, like, gangs and whatever you don't want to fuck with, the cops are numero uno on that list. They have an endless supply of guys that are never going to stop coming. So you never, ever, ever, ever fuck with the cops for any reason. And when you shoot a cop dead, it's time to run. It's time to get the fuck out of there. How they think they're going to continue with this operation is beyond me. As soon as, like, that cop shows up and he's investigating, he goes in the room and he finds it, they should have been on the run. They should have been running. And then they don't even try to cover it up. They have like a car smashed in through the building, and they have, you know, a cop dead, and then they leave a dude like in the front doorway, and he's still there in the morning. Like, are you trying to get caught? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Well, the car isn't smashed at that point.
Oh, sure, the car isn't. You're right. The car isn't smashed,
right.
but you're gonna leave a dead guy right in the front
yeah.
of like the motel. Where anybody pulls up, they're gonna be like, "Oh, there's a dead guy."
The only thing I can imagine is that it's like very like when it's night, it's actually just early morning, and she wakes up like literally as the sun is rising, and they've spent the time like searching for her because they think that she's like in the woods, so they're trying to find the live person first to kill them.
Yeah, but
I'm not
long
saying
before
that
the cops are showing up?
I agree. I think that
if cops don't check in every X amount of time, like
he's
gonna
been
go
gone for
investigate.
hours.
Because like they got a phone call,
they got a phone call that somebody was trying to kill them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they sent a cop out, and then they don't hear from him. The cops are being dispatched very quickly thereafter, right? Yeah. Like cops aren't idiots like that. Like in movies, they always paint them as idiots, but this is not reality, right? They would send other cops very quickly thereafter.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think one cop would go by themselves, dude. I rarely even see cops
anymore at all.
Pull over a guy without like two other cops pulling back over to like next to them to be like to make sure like, are you okay here?
I feel like if cops are like going to a 911 call, it would make total sense for them to have two people go.
Especially in small towns. I may tell you, having lived in a lot of small towns, if anything happens, 5 cops show up because they have nothing else to do.
They're like, let's go.
Yes.
That's where the action is.
Yes. Every time I've ever seen anything, when I lived in Cottonwood, every single time I saw any cop action of any sort, there was always at least 3 to 5 cops there. Every single time.
I feel like it would be more believable in like bigger cities when there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, that one guy
would be
out.
Like, all right, like go to this. But definitely, if you get a call that somebody's like they're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I don't know. That should be like we should send at least 2 people because 100%. There could be some violence happening, and it's supposed to just be this is a really small town.
The killers in this movie also look like the killer from Hush.
They do. I thought that as well. I actually like the masks on them, but it did look quite a lot like Hush. Hush is better, like the mask for sure, and as a movie, of course, in general.
Yes.
Like kind of infinitely better.
Yeah.
But they did remind me of the mask.
Ethan Embry really gets no screen time here. He's and the last thing I'll say on this movie before we move on to the second one, and the second one I don't have a lot to say about because we pretty much said everything we're going to say about that one with this one, but whatever. The killers in this, especially like Frank Whaley and Ethan Embry, like you couldn't find less threatening looking guys to me. Like Ethan Embry and Frank Whaley are kind of like the epitome of like little weaklings.
Yeah.
Like those are little Poindexters to me. Like those guys couldn't be more than 5'5" and 120 pounds. Now, granted, I mean, a gun evens the playing field with anybody. Doesn't matter. You can be a 500-pound fucking, muscle freak, and somebody shoots you in the fucking head. I don't care how much you work out, you're gonna die. But they're mostly using like knives and like trying to intimidate and whatever, and it's just like, I don't believe that these guys took down 200 people without one of them getting the best of them in all that time.
Yeah.
And Kate Beckinsale, of all people, is the one that's going to take all 3 of you down. Like, I believe that Kate Beckinsale could take all of them down because they're little wusses. And maybe they just wait for the wimpiest couples, right? Like if fucking G.I. Joe checks in, they're like, oh, hell no.
At one point.
Oh my God, that was sad.
Which is really awful.
I mean, it's sad anybody.
And like one of the killers is like sitting on the bed, just like bored, while the other one is like, finishing him off or whatever.
If Frank Whaley tried to come at me physically, oh my God, yeah, I'd be less than scared. So I just found it odd that there is not like, typically in these movies you have the like nerdy kind of like face of the establishment, and then they have like Bubba
They have the monsters.
They have the monsters behind the walls who are like these big, massive psycho killer Kane from See No Evil or something, or Michael Myers from Rob Zombie's Halloween, 6'10", fucking insane.
Yeah.
Wrestler, jacked up on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Alphas from 28 years later, dicks swinging, like that. Frank Whaley and Ethan Embry, please. All right, second film, first cut. So we get a different hotel here. The first one's the Pinewood. This is the Meadowview, and this movie ends with like some other hotel.
Yeah.
So this suggests that he's jumping kind of from hotel to hotel, because the killer that survives at the end of this is actually the same actor who plays the other masked killer in the first movie, who we only see the face of in the very end when she smashes him and he's up in the moonroof.
Yeah.
Or sunroof. They call them moonroofs and sunroofs.
Well,
what's the difference?
It's a sunroof in the day and a moonroof at night.
It is, but people call them sunroofs, and so like
I've only ever called it a sunroof, but I don't know. Maybe that's.
There's got to be a difference, right?
I don't think so.
Like a sunroof. No, maybe ones with the slide that you can like close it and open it, and then they open them.
Or our sunroofs.
I don't know. Is there a difference between a moonroof and a sunroof?
I don't know. It sounds like it's just a preference.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. During the day, it's a sunroof, and during the night, it's a moonroof.
Yeah.
But I've literally seen them labeled in like
moonroofs.
Like when they're selling a car and they have all of the
They don't say sunroof. They'll be like, "This is a moonroof." And
it'll say a sunroof or a moonroof. I've seen both.
Maybe there is a difference, and we just don't know it. Maybe the sunroof is like it has like the thing that you can cover it with.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you were saying like the
little slider thing that you can close
so
it.
You can close it, whereas the moonroof is just always open, or maybe vice versa.
Always open? Like it's
a window.
Yeah, I have no.
Maybe that would be the sunroof.
I would think that would be the sunroof
because the sun is always coming through.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't either. I have no fucking idea. Anyway, okay, so yeah, they say 200 tapes found. This was the first tape. So I'm assuming, that guy comes back in the end and he grabs the equipment and the tapes.
Right.
Right. So
he cleans up too, supposedly, because the cops get there and they're like, there's no bodies here.
Technically,
they find the dead bodies of the people in the house.
Shouldn't the first tape be the girl he killed when they found him out to be the killer?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be like the first tape they sold? And the first tape they have? Right?
Yeah.
And then the second tape, which he sold this tape?
He pieced together this tape and made it look somewhat decent, I guess.
I mean, I guess it is.
Or he just kept it and it's like in the records and it's like the oldest one.
Yeah. So when they find the tapes at the Pineview?
I don't know. Pine something. I thought it was Pineview, but maybe it's
Pineview. No, it's Pineview. Meadowview and Pinewood.
Oh.
I think. Yeah. Pinewood. Or Pineview. Wait, what did I just say?
You said Meadowview.
Meadowview. Wait. So it's Meadowview.
Meadowview is the second one.
It's got to be Pinewood, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think I wrote it down. Shit, we said it before, but...
I think we were saying Pinewood or Pineview.
I think so, but I think...
We probably got it wrong.
Maybe they're both just view.
We probably messed it up.
No?
One of them has
I didn't write the other one down.
The pines and the other one has the view of the meadow.
Maybe. I don't think I wrote it down anywhere. I didn't. I don't know. So this one's definitely Meadowview, though. I wrote that down. And then the motel we end up at the end is not the Pine.
Yeah, it's a totally different one.
It's a totally different one. So like he's just going. So you'd have to find willing participants to let you use their motel again. Right.
Which I think
it's the same. It's the same guy.
I don't think it's the same guy, but I think
you don't think it's the same actor.
I think we're led to believe that it's supposed to be the same one from the first because there's
a
trucker that arrives.
He goes around and he knows where all the perv guys are, but
yes.
not all the perv guys are gonna throw their hat in with murderers.
I know that's a pretty intense thing.
They're like, bro, I'm only a pervert. I'm not a murderer. I only like peeping
though.
on people.
But he's like, this could make you a lot of money, and like you don't have to worry about the cleanup. Like we'll take care of everything. You're right. I don't think
there'd be very few.
I think there would be few, but maybe not. Maybe I don't know.
No way.
Maybe everybody that's a pervert is a murderer secretly.
No. Peeping Toms.
I'm kidding.
Like, I know that we like to kind of mash them up in movies, but Peeping Toms are much more like voyeuristic. They're not much like in my personal like not experience, but in my summation, my guess here is based on literally nothing, I guess. But I don't think that Peeping Toms like elevate to murder much. I think they're mostly just like they like watching, and some murderers do. Like some murderers are Peeping Toms. But I don't think all Peeping Toms are murderers.
But the idea would be like if you are willing to watch people like again like without their knowledge and
that's
invade
a far
privacy.
Cry from murdering them.
I know it is, but I'm saying like there's boundaries, right? And like when you start crossing them, it gets easier and easier to cross more and more boundaries. And I thought that was one of the things that can happen with murderers, where they go from like just watching to now they need to participate.
They escalate,
and then like the escalations.
They do, but I think that
I don't know. I think
it's a low. Like okay, so I think there's like different levels of it, and it's like you have fall off from level to level.
Yes.
Right.
I think
where you have the Peeping Tom, then you have like they start like torturing and hurting animals, and then they start like, abusing people, and then they start murdering people, and I think they keep falling off as you continue to keep going
anything
up
about this. We're not psychologists.
Just guessing. I'm guessing, but that makes sense to me.
We're both just
I'd say 90% of Peeping Toms or more don't ever escalate to murder.
For this, I'll say that because he's a truck driver, the guy that gets them in on this like making snuff films, he drives around the whole country or whatever. So he does know not only where the perverts are at, like the guys that are like we just want to watch, but he also knows the ones that are like bad. So he just knows that. Sure. And he found like next one.
Yeah, he's got the insider info of like what hotels have this set up. And I agree with you there. I do find it funny though, since we're on the topic, how many movies in like especially the 80s and 90s kind of play off Peeping Tom voyeurism as like just boys will be boys kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I think it's super serious.
Like American Pie or like Porky's or any of these movies where the kids love to peep on the girls. And like how many movies feature guys peeping on girls in the women's showers?
Disturbia.
Sure.
And like the whole thing is he's like out there with his freaking like
she's
binoculars.
Like going to take off her top, and he's just like.
Yeah, it's definitely made to be like, oh, this is totally fine. I think people accidentally can like peep on somebody, and then you're like, like I didn't mean to see that, but. Yeah, it is funny how it is like a boys will be boys.
This
like
is accidental.
They can't help it. Yeah, exactly. Like they can't help it. I heard that nowadays kids like when you say like take a picture, they don't do this. They don't do the like.
No, yeah.
They do like an iPhone, like or like a smartphone.
Well, that's they did. Weird. Yeah, we saw that video of like
young kids.
Young kids versus older people, and they're like, all right, do this sign for like making a phone call, and older people will go like this, and younger people will go like this.
That's so weird. That's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like this. This is much more satisfying. Even though you don't do both. I don't know why I do both.
Peeping Toms was Peeping Toms for you today, and old people are like with binoculars, and new people are like with their iPhones, like through windows. All right, let's see. So, yeah, they witness a murder in this. I actually liked how this was set up, that, they kind of subvert expectations here, where you think that the guys, I called it very early on. I was like, these are not the killers. I knew that wasn't going to be the case, but they're just like Peeping Toms, and then they catch this guy and they knock him out, and then this truck driver comes and he's like, no one's buying your tapes anymore. They're boring. Everybody's, nobody's buying porn anymore. Like this is this is just not good enough. And then, you know, he comes across the other tape and he's like, oh shit, is this real? And it's like, we could really make some money for this. And then it's really the killer's idea. He's the one who conceives of the whole concept right there tied to the chair, which is pretty convenient and silly. But regardless, like, I like seeing the origins and the genesis of how it happened. Sure. And I think the setup is cool. I think it's different than I would have expected. And the fact that this is kind of like their they're learning, right? Mm. This is like their test run. Yeah. And it does not go well for them. We looked into the last film because we didn't know to look for it before, but after this one ended, I did go back and rewatch the first film's last scene to try to see if this guy has a burn on his face like he does at the end of this movie. And it's hard to tell because he has blood all over his face, but it does seem like he has like sort of some burning. Yeah. But it's very like Dr. Loomis. Which is Halloween, weird though, because that movie was made first. Less and less. Yeah, you'd think second, so... you think you'd be able to match it easy. Yeah. But the fact he had a burn at all when he's an actor that doesn't have a burn, they obviously conceived of him having a burn for a reason when we only see it in that scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
He gave him a backstory to the burn, but and that burn was put on him purposely in the end because we only see him for a second. It's
right, like, and they like specifically show his face.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless there's another scene in the movie where he shows his face that I don't remember.
I don't think so. I don't think we see any of the killers. The only person that we see is like the manager guy. Well, we see Embry, but we don't see him in a mask. Or we see him in a mask
off to talk to the guy for a second. Like he was like listening to him and he takes it off for a moment.
I don't remember that scene at all.
I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember that scene. I thought we just saw them in masks running around.
No, because he like kind of takes it off and he's listening to him and he pops it back on to like go in because they don't want to get filmed with their fucking masks off because that obviously would
you're probably right. I just am forgetting it.
But whatever. But in this one, yeah, I mean their hearts aren't even in it. Yeah. Right? They're kind of just tricked into this sort of like by money, but they're still pieces of shit.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they both die. But once again, they get taken down by some like 100-pound girl, and the two guys in this are fucking useless. I was pretty surprised that the boyfriend was the one killed first. I mean, not to be this guy, but it's usually the black guy, the black kind of comedic person that they throw in here. They always kill first.
Yeah, I was glad that they obviously didn't do that, and I actually think his character helped out as much as he could. Yeah. You know, like. After, like things kind of just go crazy. Like once the boyfriend is killed and they're like running, definitely the most angering part of this for me was when they get to that house with the like very private couple and the husband, instead of calling the police, like calls the motel manager. Right. And his wife is like, I don't know who that other guy is, like call the police, and like both of them getting killed. Like all of that was just like ugh. Like, no.
It's just, I mean, it's just movie convenience, a lot, kind of stuff. But, yeah, he's a very distrusting, kind of libertarian, don't tread on me kind of guy that never wants to get the government involved. Right? So he's a pretty believable character. I've known plenty of assholes like that live in, like, the sticks, and they're just like, I don't want the cops around my place. Like, I'd rather deal with this locally. I'd rather deal with this. Like,
well, because obviously the motel manager called them and was like, some people stole from us, right? So it's like he already was like, oh, these are the people that
and he trusts them. Yeah. They're friends. Yeah. And until recently, he wasn't even a killer. He was just a peeping Tom. No big deal. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as these movies go, there's not a lot of kills. There's only a couple, and it's mostly the killers get killed.
Mostly the killers get killed, and it's mostly like just a cat and mouse kind of game.
Like in this franchise, we have 5, then 6, 7, 8. 8 deaths that I can think of off the top of my head, and 5 of them are the killers.
And the kills that you do see are the snuff tapes themselves.
Well, sure,
like, because those are on screen. Yeah. And they'll show people getting killed. Like,
but barely.
In this
barely.
one, yeah.
Either or.
Yeah.
Neither really show much killing. Oh, I guess not. The girl who gets stabbed in the opening.
She gets really... That's brutal.
That's brutal, dude.
So sad.
She does, like, say, do you want me to take this off to not get it wet? Is he, like...
I don't know.
Because he puts the tarp down,
like,
does she think he's gonna, like, splash her with water or something? Like, he's a kid. Like, he wants to piss on her, maybe. You think that's what it is?
I don't know.
That's probably what it is. Now that I think about
it,
she probably thinks he has, like, a golden shower fetish and he wants to piss on her.
Maybe, but yeah, definitely the, like, putting the tarp down on
that's
a
for
bed
the piss.
Would for sure be like, what is about to happen?
He doesn't want the bed to get wet from pissing on her. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, other than, I mean, obviously he's putting it down for the blood. I mean, we know that, but what would he tell her? He's pissing on her.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense, right?
Yeah. I think so, but
I didn't know what the fuck it was in the moment until right now, and then I'm like, oh, they'd be peeing on her is the only thing that makes sense to me. So he's like, hey, I want to hook her, and like, hey, will you come and let me piss on you in a bedroom? I'll put down a tarp and whatever so it doesn't get on the bed. And she's like, can I take this off so it doesn't get wet? She says that specifically. Yeah, because when she says, I'll take this off, like, can I take this off so it doesn't get wet?
Yeah.
What else would that mean? Otherwise, I mean, she wasn't there to get killed.
No.
Right? She's not like, like, kill me.
Yeah, no. Yeah. You're probably right. No, I think you're right. That's gross and sad.
I don't remember them saying anything otherwise, but that's got to be it. Like, guys don't pick up hookers to, like, squirt them with water guns.
Maybe they do. Maybe some of them do.
Maybe they do. And then, yeah, as I had said, they know that they can hear them and then just still strategize out loud. That's really annoying. Caleb is the boyfriend. He gets tied to a chair and then he's stabbed like 7 times with a freaking hunting knife. And his girlfriend, and I get it, she's like, I don't want to leave him behind. And he's like, he's dead. And it's like, yeah, he's dead. He's dead. Definitely run. And as I was telling Kaylee, like, there's no point for you to go back, right? So, like, in that instance, what help would she be able to bring to him even if she went back? The only thing she risks is getting caught. She's not a medic, right? She's not a field medic or like a fucking ambulance
EMT?
medic.
An EMT?
An EMT. Yeah, medic.
No, she's just
EMT.
She's just freaking out. She's just in denial. She wants to help because she's like hopeful is all. But yeah, she's just being...
I get it.
She's just irrational.
She doesn't
I think
wanna
most people
leave
would
her
be
behind.
irrational in that sense because you'd be like, they can't be dead. There's no way they could be dead right now.
I told Kaylee, and I stick by this. In that situation, you leave and you go get cops and you go get an ambulance. That's my best chance for survival and your best chance for survival. You're gonna come back and patch me up? Like, you're not gonna do anything but hurt me and hurt yourself. There's nothing. Even if I am alive, my only chance of survival is the cops in an ambulance coming and potentially taking me to a hospital.
Yeah.
You cannot help me after I've been skewered with a hunting knife 6-7 times. Like, I'm more than likely dead, but if I'm not, you're not going to help. So her wanting to go back is very dumb. Them trying to film while they're killing is a huge disadvantage for them.
Yes.
This is why Chrome Skull's got it figured out. He puts a camera on his shoulder. It's like rigged into his outfit. That's the way you want to do it. You can't give up one hand and try to... The guy's like, stop moving, because he doesn't know how.
Nowadays, you just have the GoPro.
That's right.
On your head,
right
on your
here.
forehead.
Right there. That's what I do. And then, yeah. Oh, and then the family that they kill. There's like 10 and 11. I didn't even think of that. The husband and wife.
Yeah.
Okay, there's more deaths than I thought there was. They're mostly in this movie, though.
Yes.
As far as like
more.
non-killer deaths, the only kill in that movie that we see that's not on tape is the cop.
Right.
And then everybody else is a killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so it's 1 to 3. That's a
right.
bad ratio for killers. Yeah. It's usually the other way around, right? Like in Halloween or something, it's like 4 kills for Michael, and Michael is the one that's shot out the window. Doesn't die, but still. He gets stopped. And then, yeah, like, I don't know what their plan is with just leaving dead bodies under the rooms. like how that body isn't smelling and how isn't it, like it has maggots on it.
It
so
should
I don't know how long
definitely
it's
be
been.
smelling. It's been, long enough for the
Days?
maggots. Like, yeah,
But they were just gonna
It
throw them
started
down there
decompose. I don't
because
know. I can
they throw
only
both the
assume,
guys' bodies
yes,
down there. Like
like
this
you
is their
said, they just don't know what to do yet. Like they're learning.
sure.
So I think that they're just putting them there for the time being. But like 100%.
They have a swamp, right?
But also, like, yeah, it would start smelling. Like, you
so
can't just
fast.
leave a body.
Well, like you said, she would have smelled her body. She wouldn't have just stumbled on it in the dark.
Yeah, you wouldn't just be like, oh, there's a body here. Like, if it was her boyfriend's body, yes. If it was the other guy's body, the friend, yes. Like, she could have stumbled upon their bodies because they wouldn't be smelling it. But that girl, for sure, would be stinky.
Another thing we didn't mention in the previous film is when he throws that entire, like front desk down on the door, and the guy's like the guy's still like opening it, and they're like on top of it, and he's still being able to open it and swipe at their legs. This is so much bullshit. It's insane to me. There's no fucking way, especially when we know the crawl space is like this tall, he'd have no leverage to be able to push up. Even if he could stand, which he can't, he was no way you could lift a door with a whole front desk on top of it and people on top of that, and he's still getting it to lift up. Dude, that thing wouldn't budge an inch.
Yeah.
That was
absurd.
It
takes Luke, like, Wilson's character, like, he's really struggling to push it over.
Yes, there's no way you could push
heavy.
that. That thing would be completely locked. As soon as they got there, you just see them kind of like, you'd hear some noise, and that'd be about it. Even if you might not even hear the noise, it'd be so muffled. Because he wouldn't be able to do shit under there. So that's absurd that he was able to lift it even with them on top of it. So anyway. And yeah, letting the dead bodies kind of rot down there. She uses the nails under there that are sticking through the floorboards to kill one guy. Somehow he sticks to them like Bob in Halloween. No. They're smooth nails, dude.
Yeah, he would just
slide right back down. Like, what's holding him up? There's no grip on nails.
I don't know.
Like, nails are...
His brain is, like, sticky. So it's, like...
Sticky.
He's stuck to it.
Yeah, his brain's made of glue.
Yeah.
And then... So, that was alright. I mean, she'd have to hit, like, a vital organ or something in order for that to work. But I can buy it. I like it. It's alright. Then she shoots the other guy in the water. She has a gun completely submerged in water.
It
Typically,
still shoots.
It wouldn't fire. The gunpowder inside would get wet, and also the firing pin would be wet. One movie that actually addresses this. Some guns will fire underwater. I think the AK-47 will. But regardless, one movie that actually like addresses this very well and does it is No Country for Old Men. When he gets in the water and then the dog's running at him and he has to like pull the gun apart and he like takes the bullets and he blows everything out and then he puts the gun back together and he like shoots the dog. That's like one of the more realistic wet gun scenes I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
But this, like a fully submerged gun like she has, it's probably not going to fire.
Yeah.
It could though. It could, but probably wouldn't. I'll give it a maybe. I'll give it a percentage chance, and why not? And then the other guy, she gets into the. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of this one. She lights the guy on fire after she stabs him in the neck. She's badass.
Yeah, she eventually turns
Agnes
into
Bruckner.
like yeah, and it's because they set it up that she like went hunting with her dad.
Right,
or
sure,
family.
that makes sense.
So she's like kind of able to like pull it out.
Yeah, good call. Yeah,
which I like, and she throws like paint thinner, I think, on him that they have in their car because they're moving. I'm guessing.
Okay.
And that's what she lights on fire. So.
Well, these are the guys that are going to meet the parents.
Yes.
They're moving?
They're moving out of Chicago.
That's the trailer.
Yep.
Right.
So.
Okay.
They bought paint thinner so they could clean the paint off of her old room or something, maybe. Because they're going to, like, live there.
Well, she's pregnant, you said,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because Okay. Yeah, all right. And then, yeah, the cops come and they can't find any evidence because he's taken everything.
Yes.
Do you think that I'm sorry, there'd be evidence everywhere.
There'd be evidence everywhere. I don't know how they could possibly clean it up that quickly, especially because he was just like lit on fire.
Yeah, there's no fucking way, dude.
But he does it, and the only bodies that they find are, which is because that means that they get rid of the bodies underneath the house too. Like he gets rid of the 2 other killers plus the bodies underneath the house.
Yeah, it's 5
plus
bodies.
Cleans all the blood and everything.
No, there's no way. If this police department
Gets rid of all the cameras.
Any kind of forensics to them, they're gonna find that this place was
unless we misunderstood what they were saying. But it sounds like the only bodies they found was the couple at their house.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right.
So, I don't know.
No.
And it kind of feels like they're doubting her story, basically.
They make it seem that way, but I'm not buying it. There's no way. I mean, any forensics team that was put on this case would easily be able to find out that murders took place there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge blood stain right in the center of the room that she was in where her boyfriend was tied up and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Little luminol and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
Right.
Bob is your uncle.
Bob is, in fact, your uncle. I don't know why he's not your father. Bob's never anyone's father. He's always your uncle.
No. Bob's your brother.
Bob's brother. We're not British. We don't even fucking know what we're talking about.
No.
As usual. But yeah, no, 100%. If we're trying, because like a lot of movies will end when they're supernatural primarily, where I'll be like, they're going to jail.
Right.
Like there's no way that they're getting out of this. But this girl's character, there's no way she's going to jail for this.
No, I don't think so. But they do. It does seem like they're just distrusting her.
They try to make it seem like we're supposed to, as the audience, be like, "Oh shit, there's no evidence." There's evidence.
Yeah.
There's no way
There's
this guy.
for sure evidence.
They are so messy with what they're doing.
Yes.
They're not clean. They're not Dexter. They didn't make a fucking kill room or anything where they've thought of everything. No, this is a very sloppy operation. They have no idea what they're doing. They get 2 of themselves killed in their first murder spree, and no, these guys are amateurs. And this other guy, while he is a killer who used plastic and he thought this stuff through before with his other kills, and who knows how many people he killed before. The way they're doing their operation, they would get caught. Anyway, so that's that. Vacancy.
Unlock the device to continue.
Okay, cool. I think Siri? Is that?
It's Alexa, I think.
Alexa.
Yeah, it's my Kindle. It likes, yeah.
All right, well, we got to make dinner, and that's
We do.
that. So, Vacancy, 1 and 2. You got 2 for the price of 1. There's no price, even though supposedly we beg for money on this channel, and I supposedly don't have a job.
Please.
Please.
Give us money.
Give us so much money.
No, 2 for
Even
the
though I
price of
literally
none.
never ask for subscribers. I never ask for likes. I never ask for comments. I never ask for...
Except for like an occasional like, hey, members, but we don't do that at the end of every video or the beginning of every video like a lot of YouTubers do. Well, they'll be like, we tried for a minute. We tried to be like, subscribe, because we were like just trying to get people to subscribe, but
I guess when I go to my job, I don't actually work there. I'll let my coworkers know and all my clients, like, I'm sorry, I actually don't have a job. So I can't come do your hair anymore. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say I'm a hairdresser and go to the salon.
right.
For some, I don't know why, like, this guy keeps coming at us to be like, you don't have a job. This is so fucking funny. But I blocked him from the channel. You guys won't even know what I'm talking about. Well, actually, you will, because I just posted about it in the groups because I thought it was really funny. So that, anyway. I just find it so, we get the dumbest fucking comments sometimes. And it makes me laugh. I'm sitting there like, I don't have a job and I beg for money. Neither of those things is true. I never beg for money. That being said, please give us all your money. I'm so broke. I don't have a job. I can't.
We're gonna go open up a motel and sell videotapes.
Yes.
But it won't be what you think they are.
Yes.
It'll be videotapes of people's pets.
That Kaylee would buy those tapes. No, you would be like, that's their privacy. How dare you film them without their permission?
Those pets didn't know.
All right, we're done. We gotta
All
go eat. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Give us all your money.
Bye.